Okay, so here we have 4 tables: customers, items, salesmen, vendors. So what we need to do is let's take a look at the relationships in here. I'm looking to see, we may have deleted them all. So we're going to go into the database and relationships, and there they are. So you can see that the cus sales ID is a foreign key that relates to the primary key of the salesman, and for the items, primary key for the vendor. So one vendor can sell many items in here, but each item can only be made by one vendor. So what we need now is we need an order system. So we're actually going to need 2 tables for that. So the first table we're going to create is going to be called the order master. So we'll just create a new table. And we'll call it the order master. So we save this file. So we're going to need a primary field, and that's going to be auto increment. So let's just rename the field. Okay, and the next one we're going to need is going to be the customer number. Then we're going to need the date of order. The order amount. And let's just do it the order balance. So what this file is going to do is every time you go on Amazon and place an order, it creates an order for you. Then you go in there and you actually start adding items. So now Google may do it, or Amazon may do it a little bit backwards. They have you add to your cart until you check out. It doesn't actually create the order, but it's the same thing. They're going to have an order number. So if you ever call them up, the first thing they'll ask you is, what's the order number? Then the order number is going to reference every single item inside what's going to be called the item detail. So there'll be an item detail that will have the item itself, the quantity, and the price, and a calculated field probably for the actual total of it. If you buy 5 of something at $3, then it's going to be $15 in there. So let's go in here. Let's save this. And let's go into the datasheet view and just take a look at what we have here. Actually, design view would be better. So this is auto number. This is what we want. Now, because this is going to relate to a primary key, we need to make sure this is a long integer, which it is. Okay, so now we have the date and time. That's fine. So what we need here is maybe the default rule to be actually today's date. So we can do that strictly from here. Here's our functions, built-in functions, date and time, and we can use the date. And if you want to know what's the difference between date and date, so containing a system date or containing a string. So we want this one over here, which is going to give the actual date instead of a number. So we need to make sure it's there, and it is. And so now when we do something, it should automatically fill in the date in here. And we don't need any real validation rules in here. We can make it simple. This is going to get filled in automatically, but we really should make it required. However, you may want to, make it where it can be changed in case they say, put the order on hold, and then all of a sudden they say, no, I want to buy it. So, again, we're getting nitpicky. All right, so here we have long text, so we need to change this to a number. And let's see what other options that we have. We really should change this to currency. And same thing with the order balance. That way we're not going to get nailed with half a cent or anything of that effect in here. So we have order balance, and we could put in date paid. And that would obviously be a date. So let's save this. And right now we're pretty good. Now we need what's called the item detail file. All right, so what happened here? Hope it didn't knock me out. Still there, all right. So I might have hit save as. So we're good here. Now we need another table that's going to be the item master. So again, we'll call this, rather the order detail, sorry. And let's change this here. And we may need to change this in here. So I'm just talking out loud. I like to have things identify in here. So order details a lot, so ID. So the next thing is going to be the customer number. Actually, that's incorrect. It's going to be the order master. Okay, then next one's going to be an item number. So we'll just, to make our lives easier, we'll go back and save this table for right now and see what we did for the items. So we're going to open up items. And the item ID is a long integer, so we need to make this a long integer as well. All right, so here we're going to go and create a number. And this will be then we need a cost. Then we need a quantity. Now remember, we're going to do integers to make it easier, but your quantity might be 2.5 pounds or something. Or it could be ounces. So you have to be careful about that. But for here, we're going to make it simple. And we'll call this extended. Okay, so let's look at what we have. Let's save this. And I need to rename this wrong, but I'll fix that later. All right, so let's go into our design view. And let's take a look at here. We have this order ID is going to be a long integer. we have the order, the item ID is going to be a long integer, the cost of the item, and here. So we can do decimal places. We probably want to do 2, but you could always do more, and same thing with that, or you can leave it in here. So here's property update options. The more you do, it's going to in error. So I would, for right now, we'll just update it everywhere. Okay, well, that's good. All right, so let's save this. And let's go into our relationships. So now we have the relationships that have been created, but we just added 2 more tables. So we need to add tables, and we're going to add the table order master, and order detail. And where is that? All right, so we have this in twice, so we need to get rid of that. And let's do we have the order detail and order master. All right, so we'll get rid of that later. So this is going to link here. Our order master and our order detail are going to link here. So here is the foreign key. Okay, order amount, order master. All right, so somehow these have gotten not in the right order, but that's no big deal. This is the primary key. It's going to link to the primary key there. And yes, we want to enforce it in here. So actually, I did the wrong one, sorry. This goes and links to this. Let's see. Oh, we got to close them. All right, so let's try this again. They say the third time's a charm. All right, so now we have a one-to-many in here. So we can have many details, but only one order master. So let me move these out of the way. And the order master has to link to the customer ID. So all right, so what does all this nonsense mean? It means that we have a customer who has a salesman. When you're creating a customer, you cannot put in a sales ID for a salesman that does not exist. Therefore, it'll give you an error message in here. Now, I did a little combo box. It's really easy to do, so you can look it up as well. And then we have the table items. So each table has to be associated with a vendor. Then we have the order master. And when we create an order master, it has to get linked to a customer. And this is the primary key of the order master. And then the order ID must get linked here. This is the primary key of the order detail. And we have to have a field in here that links to the actual order master. So let me save this and close it. And I want to see what's going on with the order master. Okay, why? Okay, not sure why it's in out of order. but apparently it is. All right, so this is a good time for you guys to ask me any questions, because this pretty much is what we're going to be doing with our, all right, let's say this relationship. All right, so that's there. So that's good. So I do not know why. I've never seen this where it was not in the same order of the fields. Never seen that. So I'm going to add this again just for the heck of it to see what it does. Okay, so that's of no value. All right, so I'm going to close this and not save it. And I'll open it back up. Go to Database Tools and Relationships. If you want to edit the relationships, you can edit it here. So this is a duplicate right now, which we don't need in here. So that's no big deal. So we can get rid of this at a later date. For now, we just put it over there. All right, so let's close this. And let's go back to our database. And, oops, why did I do that? Let's go back to our tables. So talk to me if this is making sense to you or not. I mean, you guys gotta tell me in there. Now, and by the end of the night, I'm gonna leave it up to you to get as much work done in this class, and then I'll go into Canvas with you, and we'll address each and every item that we need to do. So again, everything is in Create. So now we have the report wizard right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at something that we already have information in it. So let's do the table customers. And we'll select everything. We'll do next. And it's going to group it by, if we want sales ID in here. We can get rid of grouping if we want. So you can see how many different things. Let's take a look at this right now and see how it is. Okay, we can do a sort by whatever we want. Just leave that blank. You can name it later on, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so you can see that it brings it in. It's sorted by last name. And these are, do we have customer ID? We might be missing some. Here is it, sales ID. Okay. So we have to do some work in it in Design View. So you can see how easy that is to do in Design View. So you could drag these over. You could make this, we'll move this over here, and we'll change this to listing of customers by salesperson. And notice all this junk is put down here for you. So this is print preview to see what it's going to look like. Okay, so obviously the date is hurting us, so we need to move some things over. So we have a lot of room here for the sales ID. And there's actually ways to make them the same size. You can align them just by clicking on both of them. And if you go into arrange, you can align and say to left. That takes care of this. Then let's do the same thing with this. We'll just move them over. And this is a sales ID. We don't really need to make it over here. So we have cust and cust ID. We can move this over. Zip code. And date. So we may need a little extra space. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. Okay, so we still don't have enough space, but we have more than enough space, so we need to do something with the sales ID. So you can play with these numbers here, just like Excel. It just means that there's not enough space to do that. But you can see how easy it is. So let's create another report. And let's see, customer ID. See, we don't have cities. I was going to do SQL that does something in here. All right, so we'll do that next week. So let's create another form wizard. And select this and see what we have here. Columnar. Okay, we don't care about that. Okay, I think I did the form wizard. Try that. Report wizard. And you can also do it from queries. All right, so let's see what happens here. Okay, let's get rid of this grouping. So here's our grouping options. We don't have to group if we don't want to in here. So again, this gives us exactly what we're going to have over here. And you can play with this as much as you want. You can move these fields around as you see fit. Okay. So the reason why this cust sales ID is here is because we're grouping it by cust sales ID. Reports are always going to be grouped. If you just wanted to list this, you would do a query. So you would do a query of customer names. And so let's do a quick query here. So we're going to go to create, and we're going to use the query wizard. And a simple one is good. Okay, again, what table do we want? We want the customers. Okay, we may or may not want the cust ID. Let's just do all this as well. And let's see what this looks like. Okay, so you can see most of them don't have a customer ID, salesman ID, because we obviously created a relationship after we had data. So that's okay. So you can go in here. I created a little form, which I'll have to show you guys. All right, so let's save this now. When we save this, you must enter a value in customer last name field. Where? Oh, I see. Okay, shut up. That's what the required does for you. All right, so let's save this here. And we can run the query wizard in here. So let's take a look at what that actually created. So basically, it just tells us that here it is, and we didn't order it by anybody. So if you want to order, you can order it by whatever you want. But let's, for right now, let's just do a report and see what happens. And you can click on run to run it. But let's do a new report and see what happens. So we're going to go to create. We're going to go to report wizard. This time we're going to use here's the customer query. And we'll put them all in. Okay, it still wants to, do you want to add any grouping? This would allow you to group by whatever you want, but here we don't really want to. So let's click on next. Again, we don't care. Let's not sort right now. So now you can see it looks pretty much the same in there because all we're doing is the same thing in here. Now you have a 2 here because we group by 2, so it's not going to print 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. But you can see this is all the ones for customer 2. This is all the ones for customer 3. That's why you have that blank line. So if you go into the design wizard, you can make those changes in here. So notice this is the sales ID header. Now, if you wanted to get rid of that grouping, you can actually get rid of the grouping. For right now, let's hold off on that. But there's ways that you can do it. Always right click, and that's your easiest thing to start in here. But this is our grouping. You can change all of this here, and we can close this here. And there's all kinds of things that you can do in it. So if we wanted to get rid of this header, we could actually remove it. I don't want to do it right now, but we will next week. So I just want you to start getting comfortable with the report wizard. Okay, so we have the order detail. Now we want to make an extended price really a calculated price. So how do we do that? First of all, let's name this properly. We can rename it from in here. So let's go into design view, and here is the extended. Well, the extended is nothing more than the order detail cost times the quantity. So if we want to make it a calculated field, we would take it calculated here. And then, now once you have data in it, you can't do it. It won't let you. So what we're going to do here is it's the item cost plus the item quantity. And if you make any error, it'll let you know. So let's see. You cannot calculate it. You can add a new field. All right, probably because it's there. Well, that stinks. All right, so let's add a new one. And let's see what happens here. Okay, so let's go in and let's try to put in some data and let's see if it works. Remember to always, as soon as you do something, test it. All right, So we don't need to put in a customer number. This is probably going to give us an issue. And this is also probably going to give us an issue. Let's see. This is, and there's ways to see what this is. Order cost. So let's make it $25. Order quantity 2. Okay, so, oh, it should be multiplied. But you can see how that works. So let's go back in and fix that. Because in order table master. See, that's what I was telling you about. We need to put something in table master. That's very annoying. So let's close this. Okay, I guess it's not going to let me delete it. So let's, all right, that's good. It just crashed on me. Guess it did not. All right, shut up. Yes, all right. So let's go and change the name here. All right, so we need to put in an order master. And so we'll put in this. Customer number should be, let's go with 2. Order date. We'll fill in the order date. Order amount would normally get calculated from the order detail. It would update that. So we'll just put in 20 for right now. And we don't really need to worry about this. We don't really need to worry about this at all. So this is the only thing that we need is the order ID and the cust ID. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this to make sure that I can recreate it. All right, so let's go back into the order detail. And that will get updated. So we have order ID would be, let's see, 1. And the order item, okay, we don't, let's just say 1. We might get into a problem with the order item because I don't know if we put any items in. So let me open up this table first and see. Yeah, okay, so we have item 1, so that should be good. And we could actually have it filled in here, but we don't really need that. So this is going to be 25. And we ordered 5 of them. And it's 30. All right. So what we need to do now, we need to fix this. This is times. All right. So let's go back in and see what happens. Okay, notice that it updated that automatically. So you never have to put data in here. So that's how a calculated field works.